Hello to the chicos and the chicas. The chess coach of the internet is coming at you, and today we are going to venture into the world of computer chess again. I rarely do this, so usually when I do, I have a very good reason to do so, and this time I feel like I do have a good reason, and that is none other that I saw an absolutely amazing game that I would like to share with you. And at this point, I would like to send a shout out to Grandmaster Matthew Sadler, who is basically the godfather of anything that is engine and chess associated, as far as I'm concerned. He has got a fantastic website where he runs these engine tournaments, the TCEC, and he's very actively tweeting or Xing about it as well. And that's exactly how I came across this game. So if you would like to, keep your hand on the pulse of engine chess, then I recommend you to check out Matthew Sadler at GMMDS on Twitter. He regularly tweets about all the engine shenanigans, and here I present to you today a game between Leela and Akimbo. Now, about Leela I know very little, and about Akimbo I know far less than that, so I will let you do the googling on that. But yeah, let's dive into the game, and very soon you're going to understand why I'm presenting this game for you. The opening is going to be a Nimzo-Indian, and this is going to be the F3 variation. This is a really funky line that goes in and out of fashion like a mullet in Australia. And unlike the mullet, I think you are actually probably wise to engage with this at least once in your lifetime, which once again I certainly would not recommend in regards to the mullet. But the F3 Nimzo I think is a good idea to analyze here and there, because the structures arising from it are particularly unique yet very exciting. Especially the line that occurred in the game, which is the main line with d5, a3, bishop takes, pawn takes, and c6. Now, I haven't been keeping up with theory too much on this. In fact, let's just go with at all. But I tell you as much as I used to play his c5, and I very, very strongly dislike the c6 variations despite their recent popularity. I think they allowed too much of a free hand for white. The old main line used to be, still is to some degree, c takes d, where after knight takes d5, d takes c5, a very unique pawn structure occurs where white has got the ugly broken pawns, but white also has a fabulous pair of bishop 97, bishop e3. This is main line. I don't want to go into the theory of this now because that's not what the video is all about. But what I wanted to tell you is that the CD ED structures are the one that are really, really fun to analyze, in my opinion, because here this pawn structure e3, bishop d3, and then knight e2 with a very, very long-winded plan of... I'm actually going to show you this. So I'm just going to play a few random moves for black here. So white's plan is to basically put all pieces on optimal squares and ultimately break with e4. And when white accomplishes this, all of a sudden, all the pieces, especially the b2 bishop, but these two even, that appear to be not doing an awful lot, will be placed on best squares to accomplish a marvelous attack. Let me demonstrate this to you. Take, 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 and now the pawns are going to just sweep everything away in their wake, and the knight is a really nasty customer coming from g3 to f5 to g7. Now we are wreaking havoc already on the long diagonal, and black is dead lost. So this is what I wanted to put forward so that we can engage a little bit better with what is about to come, because this is going to be absolutely mind-boggling. So c6 comes, and I would even be willing to play a game here with you to name your 5 most likely candidate moves in this position, and I'm willing to bet that unless you have seen this game, there is not even the slimmest chance that you will come across, unless you purposely go for the sillies, right? Because if it was me naming candidate moves, I would go e3, knight h3, rook a2, but that's already a stretch. Maybe an e4 pawn sack actually would occur to me. And that's about it. And then I already am feeling very hard pressed for another sensible move. And then comes Leela and goes, "Oi, no worries. Harry hasn't been deployed for a while. Go, Harry." And Simon Williams is definitely now having a jolly good time. And I'm looking like, wow, so this is what 3,200 or whatever is Leela currently rated at, chess looks like. And I don't want to sound full of myself, but quite often once I look at the move for a while, at least for a while, I kind of figure where it's going. With this, even after having analyzed it for so long and having seen how the game went, I'm still completely baffled about this move. It's absolutely just next level. The best I can describe it as a preparation for some kind of a kingside attack later down the track, but also some space gain with h4. But if a student of mine played this, I would, oh wow, that wouldn't be pretty, what I would say then. So yeah, it's like whatever, man. But it gets better. Black plays b6, and obviously we uncork the perfectly matching move, you know, that you are sort of supposed to play after h4, which is rook a2. Like, everyone saw that one coming, right? Now, to be fair, you did hear me naming rook a2 earlier. It's not because I saw the game. Rook a2 is a genuine motive. If you remember now to my introduction, I did show you in this variation the idea of rook a2 to deploy the rook. What it does, by the way, is that it basically doesn't create an awkward situation where the bishop moves out first and then you have to move the queen and bring the rook across. So essentially it's a game, time and tempi winning maneuver. That's the purpose of all this, and that's exactly what Leela is doing here in the game too. Now, I couldn't help myself, and thank God for that, to try to test the idea of h4 in the crudest fashion. And I'm like, you know what, Leela, I'm gonna jump at ya, and I will play knight h5. Right? Now, obviously, I only have Stockfish at my assistance now, so obviously Leela doesn't or cannot give me the answers to my questions. But nonetheless, I had some fantastic time. First, I went with the somewhat mundane king f2, and I analyzed queen c7, knight h3, and here knight g3, according to the engine, is already a slight mistake. Rook g1 and bishop f4 is incoming, and in this super random position, not for the first time, by the way, the engine ignores the hanging knight and casually carries on with Harry. And you just sit there and go like, what am I watching, man? Like, what is this? This is not the chess game I used to know. Oh, still do. And yeah, the knight has nowhere to go. Knight g3 loses to bishop f4. Knight h2 also gets trapped. And so it turns out that white is not in a hurry. Although after f6 we do take. And now we return some kind of semblance to a chess game, I suppose. Although after d takes c4, the engine wants to correct the horrible mistake of having a rook on f1 and immediately rerouting it to h1. So here we go. But once again, it does look like chess, at least a little bit. Alternatively, after knight h3, there is queen g3 check as well. I tried to make this one work for black too. Wasn't a lot of joy. Here comes bishop d2 with the idea of bishop e1. And this is no fun. f5 was the only move that I found here for black. But even here, after even the vicious e4, black is in all kinds of trouble because of these guys that somehow just so utterly unable to join the party. Know that the idea behind e4 is that after capture, the h5 knight is hanging due to the discovered attack from the queen on d1. But then, and this is gonna be the real deal, ladies and gentlemen, I picked at the engine's other recommended move here after h4, knight h5, and that was none other than e4. And I'm like, woo, this looks like party time. Let's go. Take knight g3, rook h3, because that's how we roll. With just rooks up on the side. Like literally the first chess lesson you teach to beginners is to not to play a4, h4, rook h3, rook a3. Observe what's coming, by the way. So if knight takes e4, then bishop d3. Now knight c6 here loses, knight c3 loses by force to queen c2, queen d4, knight f3, and if I want to avoid losing the knight, then I'm not going to be able to avoid losing the queen. So that's off the card. So knight has to go back to f6. Rook g3, of course, because that's what we do once we play rook h3, right? Like, it has to serve a purpose. So we swing across to g2, g3. And when black plays g6, I don't think that I'm going to find it difficult to make you guess the correct move for white, which of course isn't bishop g5. Nay, that's too soon, friends. Rook a2. Because we deployed one rook, so it's really time now to bring the other big boy in as well. I looked at the line, knight d7, rook f2, castles, bishop g5, and white has got a huge attack, a massive lead in development, dark squared color complex completely dominated. It's all white. Like, not one thing I can say on the positive for black other than the fact that they have one extra pawn. Not exactly anything to write home about. Wow, just absolute wow. Develops a rook followed by a bishop, and then shortly after comes the next rook. It's just, yeah, absolutely insane. Oh, and by the way, don't forget that if knight takes f1, then the obligatory e5 is also part of the equation. We do not recapture pieces instantly because that's lame. Once again, by the way, once you see it, makes perfect sense. If we retake on f1, black has e5. And now the rook is awkwardly hanging. The bishop has got beautiful scope. Black is taking over the initiative. You play e5. Good luck, Chuck. What's really intriguing, by the way, about this is that everything that Leela does, at least to my very limited understanding and to the very limited number of games I've seen by Leela in my life, there is always an incredibly fine blend of positional and tactical components in its sacrifices. Like here, we drop the pawn, if I recall rightly. Not yet, but in most variations we did anyway. And you couldn't exactly pinpoint whether it was the direct attack or the long-term passivity of the black pieces and the weak color complex, in this case a dark one, that made the greater impact and the greater impression, in fact, on us. So it's a really, really cool style of chess, which is almost impossible, in my opinion, to imitate and to copy. And best of luck to everyone who attempts. The game itself was, to my mind, the least exciting, by the way, in the sense that Akimbo did put up very good resistance, but still, watch this. Rook a2, hello, obvious. Bishop a6, e4. Like, sacking a pawn is a must. If you don't sack a pawn before move 10, you're not Leela Chess. Now Leela takes c4. Taking e4 is very risky because after takes, knight takes, we have got queen g4, because once again, it's very important that we understand that the major pieces, the big guys, need to be developed before the minors. Of course, I'm joking, but it is just sensational to watch how the engine finds these amazing exceptions to the rule where it violates absolutely basic chess principles and makes it look so good, by the way. Yeah, the double attack on g7 and d4 is just a bit too heavy. Hence the capture on c4, trying to keep the position closed. Knight e2, an utterly disappointing minor piece developing. Castles, g4. No two moves can pass without one being viciously aggressive. Knight d7, bishop f4, b5, h5. There you go. Once again, aggro. Knight b6, and castles. Now that was a little bit of a shock to me. I would have thought that knight g3 was the most logical way to bring the big boy into the fray. But then comes f6 according to the engine, and it's not that clear. So after castles, you would think that now the attack is fizzling out, but nay. Bishop d6, knight g3, and again the rook is free to jump across on the second rank to pursue the kingside attack. I will speed things up a little bit. That is such a brilliant move too, man. Like, just when it feels like black is finally getting a handle on things, and in fact taking over the initiative again, because if this central trade takes place, 3v versus 1 on the queen side, really doesn't bode well for white, and just perfectly on time plays queen c1 and introduces the vicious bishop h6 and or g5. Actually, it's much more so g5, excuse me. Bishop h6 is not really working here. Take, knight h7, queen g5, or queen f6 ideas would do the trick. But g5, that stings. That does sting. e5, bishop d2, takes, and bishop e3. Casually sacking another 2 pawns just to ensure that the kingside attack runs. And if you look at what's going on, it's all about attack, 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 attack. Usually sacked material, but also, once again, bringing on positional considerations. The piece majority in the attack, by the way, is astounding. 4v1. g6, f4. Make it 5. We want 5 attackers, thank you very much, says Leela. And this is the image that really impresses me. The ability to have the foresight, if I can call it that, you know, to build a position on the grounds and on the foundation of moves like h4, rook a2 on the other side, is just insane to get to here, which to even a human eye appears to be huge attack at the very least, and insane compensation. And ultimately, Akimbo survives the mate attack at the cost of an exchange like so. And I'm going to call it off here purely because the way how Leela converts is impeccable, and it still is well above my pay grade to be able to coherently speak about the ideas that it displays. And the main point of the video anyway was the opening / early middle game, the way how this absolutely crazy city Nimzo-Indian turned into a vicious attack. So yeah, that is going to be it from me. I will play that very quickly because I don't want to leave you on a cliffhanger. But basically what happens is that all pawns will come off, barring e4, and yeah, Leela converts this in style. In fact, it ended here because a3 is dropping, e4 isn't, and therefore white wins. So yeah, that was an absolutely crazy bonkers city game played by Leela Chess. Once again, shout out to Grandmaster Matthew Sadler for running and overseeing these tournaments and very often posting about it on social media. And once again, it was actually a tweet that brought my attention to this game, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I have. Absolutely marvelous stuff. That's gonna be it for me from me for now. Please don't forget to like, to sub, to comment please down below. Leave a comment, it helps the algo, and if super thank me if you can, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.